So I thought The Invisible Man was going to be garbage. Okay, and I have good reason for thinking so. Not only were the trailers pretty terrible and showed way too much. Is it me, or does it seem like Marvel is the only company that gets the good trailer editing people or something? Because what's happening with these other films? Anyway, but it also stars actors and actresses that people just don't know, or at least wouldn't be going out in droves to see in a film like this. And as much of a fan of Elizabeth Moss as I am, even I have to admit that she's still not widely known. People who do know who she is probably only recognize her from Mad Men or as that lady from The Handmaid's Tale. Really, this movie didn't really have much going for it going in. So that's why when I saw, when it came out, that it got a really great Rotten Tomatoes score, with an audience score that was pretty close to what the critics thought, I was like, I should probably check this movie out. Because honestly, everything that this movie had going for it before its release was a recipe for disaster. It seemed like it was probably going to be a terrible, possibly also hilarious C movie that I would go see, probably halfway enjoy and completely forget about after I watched it. But that wasn't the case. After I saw The Invisible Man, I walked away from that film feeling like the people who were behind this movie knew what they were doing. They knew what they had, and they used it in a way that could make it better for everyone. And of course, the audience is the true winner here. Now, just right out the gate, this is not The Invisible Man that you are familiar with. This is loosely based on the story from H.G. Wells. We are all familiar with that story. It's had numerous adaptations, but this film decides to go in a different direction. In this film, we're following a woman who's in an abusive relationship, and she decides, you know what, I'm going to take my power back, so to speak, and I'm going to escape. I'm going to get away from this guy. So she does. She gets away from the guy, but it proves to be difficult because this guy is a different level of crazy. And so we're just kind of with her while she's trying to escape and get her life back to normal. And then she finds out that he has apparently killed himself, something that she doesn't initially believe. And she starts to really not believe it as the film goes on, because more increasingly strange things begin to happen to her and her friends, and now she has to find out if her ex-boyfriend is not dead, what exactly did he do, how did he fake his death, and what exactly does he want. Now, on paper, you would think that this is a by-the-numbers, ex-psycho killer horror film. And it basically is. I mean, it's not like it paves a new path or anything, narratively speaking. All right, but this movie does do a lot of things right. Number one, it got the cast right. Elizabeth Moss, it's just incredible in this film. She has a lot of scenes where she really just has to act by herself, and that's a really good skill to have. She has a few scenes where she has to throw out some expletives or swing at air or something and make that convincing, make the audience believe, hey, there is someone here, she is fighting someone really is coming after her. And I definitely felt that fear. I felt her plight in this film. It wasn't executed perfectly, but it works way more than it doesn't. And I really believe that has to do with Elizabeth Moss and just her acting ability here. And you also have to give credit to Oliver Jackson-Cohen, who plays the crazy ex-boyfriend, so to speak. Even though he has a very, very small role in this film, he does a lot with the limited screen time. And him and Elizabeth Moss just really bounce off of each other when they do have screen time. You feel that tension, you feel that hatred, that heat between the two, and it just makes that entire dynamic feel a lot more interesting than you would initially think. Now, as far as the rest of the cast, they're okay. Aldous Hodge plays her friend. who's honestly, he's just there to progress the plot. Honestly, the rest of them are just there to progress the plot. Not necessarily a bad thing because they do what they can with what they're given. But it's just not a lot. There isn't really much else going on. This is definitely Elizabeth Moss and Oliver Jackson's film, and that's okay because it is called The Invisible Man, and that's what we really want to be focused on here. Now, any performance is nothing without a good director, and Leigh Whannell, who you may know as the writer for films like Saw or Insidious, he's the one who has helmed this film, and he has taken his experience from those horror movies and he's brought it here. Insidious 2, while it may not have been as good as the first one, was still extremely scary, and you can definitely see that he uses a lot of those tricks that he used in that film here, and it works to great effect. Again, what he has been able to do with a $7 million budget here is just it's mind-blowing. The movie looks great, and he uses very little CGI, but he does it in a way where it's most effective. You don't see a lot of this Invisible Man. You don't see the threat. He has to try to create this enemy, this villain, out of nothing, out of thin air. And he is able to do so by just using the things in the room or using really good camera work. And it really does work because it creates so much tension. You're always wondering, well, is he really there? Is somebody there? Is something going to pop out? You're constantly waiting for something to happen. And I think that this was one of the strongest parts of the film, just the way Whannell is able to use the camera, use some sheets or something falling to create fear and tension. It really does work well here, and it actually makes the film a lot scarier than it would be otherwise. Now, aside from good performances and a good director, some good camera work, and some properly placed CGI, one of the better things about this movie is the story. And the story definitely has its weak points, but that's not really the point here. Instead of the writers and the director trying to beat the viewer over the head with their message, they put entertainment first. And that to me is the most important thing, because at the end of the day, this is still a film. And so the viewer has to still be entertained. Even if you are trying to send a message or make a point, you still need to make sure that the entertainment value is not diluted by your point or your message. And I never felt like that ever happened here. When I was watching the film, I was so thoroughly entertained by everything. I was scared. I was tense. And I really, was rooting for this character all the way up until the end credits. And it wasn't until I actually left that I realized, oh, that's what they were trying to go for here, or oh, that's what their message was. Now, there may be some people who could watch this movie and pick up on that, and that's fine. But I like to be able to watch a film without that being so, heavily focused on this message or this point, where nothing else actually matters. At the end of the day, The Invisible Man is still a horror film. It still has to be scary. It still has to be entertaining, tense, whatever you want out of a horror film. This movie has it, and they were able to balance having a point, having a message, and also balance the actual horror aspects, horror elements of the film to make something truly special. And I think that is what makes The Invisible Man worthwhile viewing. Overall, it was a surprising movie. I really was not expecting much from it at all. This is definitely one of those situations where, promotional material for a film can make or break a movie. And I was not planning on going, well, you know what? No, I was going to go see it because I see everything, but I wasn't going to rush to the theaters to see it at all. And so once those reviews came out and people were saying that it was actually good, it piqued my interest, as well as a ton of other people, as well as word of mouth. And people went to go check this movie out, and they realized that it actually really wasn't that bad. But you got to have good trailers. Yeah, that's the only thing that we have to go off of. How else are we going to decide whether or not we're going to check this movie out if the trailers are terrible, or if they tell us what we thought was the entire story? There is a little bit more in this film, a few more surprises that you're not going to see from those trailers. But God, those trailers really did tell way more than we should have known. But before. Before actually seeing it. So, but besides having really bad trailers and being predictable in certain parts, The Invisible Man was well acted, thoroughly entertaining. It was tense. It had a really good message, and overall, it was scary. And I do believe that you should go ahead and check this out if you haven't already. I know that this is weeks after the film has come out. I actually saw this movie a little while ago, but with everything that's been happening with the movies and this virus situation, it's been a little bit difficult to get some videos out. But I mean, since we're all stuck at home, I decided, well, why not just put these videos out? Let you know what I'm watching. I want to hear what you guys are watching, and maybe we can talk about that to entertain ourselves until this whole thing blows over. What did you guys think of this review? Are you interested in seeing The Invisible Man if you have not already? If you have seen it, what did you think? Do you agree with my comments? Do you think that The Invisible Man was a surprisingly good film? Or did you go into it expecting less and, got exactly what you were expecting? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you have not done so already, go ahead and click that subscribe button so that you can get more content like this, which contains movie news, reviews, and reactions from your boy Derek right here at Anamanji. Don't forget to click that like button, and do not forget to click that bell notification so that you will know when I post again. That's all I have for now. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay dope.